Our next keynoter positioned Nokia to deliver on the promise of 5G, the cloud, and our more connected lives. Since Rajeev Suri was tapped to run the global technology leader 2 years ago, he's led the company through a series of major transformations, including the acquisition of Alcatel-Lucent. That's why I'm delighted that he's here to share his vision of Nokia and what 5G makes possible. Please give a warm welcome to Rajeev.
Well, thank you for that welcome, and thank you, Mark Cuban. While Mark and I are miles apart in terms of personal style, after all, you're not likely to find me on the sidelines of a National Basketball Association game offering advice to the referees. I think we do share something quite important: optimism. We both see a world of possibility, a world where technology can make things better, a world where human spirit and creativity can do extraordinary things. And I have no doubt that we are on the verge of some more of those extraordinary things. I was asked to talk today about making 5G a commercial reality, which is an important topic, but one that starts too soon with the what without addressing the why. And the why of 5G is really what matters the most. Now, I've had more than one customer quite fairly ask me what the use cases will be for 5G, why they should spend billions on yet another evolution that started back in 1991 with 2G. It's a fair question, no doubt about it. My answer is simple. 4G is great, but the future requires 5G. The fact is that 4G, while a big step forward, has largely been about doing what 2G and 3G could do, just better and faster. While the continuing evolutions of 4G are remarkably powerful, they will never have the capacity, latency, reliability, and flexibility to meet the needs of the use cases that have the potential to radically improve our world. Nor will they have the ability to support the massive amount of machine-type devices that are expected. As an optimist, I believe that by harnessing technology, we can build a world that is safer, more sustainable, more efficient, more human. And with that, we can create more human possibilities. But that will not happen with what we have today. It's a cliche to say that you should not expect different outputs with the same inputs. And we need the input of 5G if we want things to change in the coming years. So let me give 3 examples of areas where I think 5G can make a real difference, although there are many more. The first is time. 5G has the potential to give you more of an increasingly rare commodity: time. How many of you look at your schedule every day and look at the list of things you need to do and think, I just need more time? So technology has helped our world massively over time, but it has also made things feel more compressed and at times both overwhelming and exhausting. At Nokia, we do not think that there is any reason for that to be the case. In 1930, the economist John Maynard Keynes, he said that his grandchildren could expect a 15-hour work week because technology would have delivered the gains needed to get back more time for ourselves. A nice thought, even if I do not expect a 15-hour work week anytime soon. But the concept is the right one. In fact, as advanced network technologies permeate various industries, we're on the cusp of meeting the spirit, if not the letter, of Keynes' prediction. While in the past, technology has taken time from us, the future can give it back. Think about how fully autonomous driving and traffic optimization in 5G-enabled cities could save time lost on daily commutes and allow us to redirect it to more important areas of our lives. Not to mention the economic, environmental, and sustainability gains. Think about the mining and construction industries where we can enable the remote control of machines and crane operators at construction sites or miners operating dangerous machines no longer need to be directly there, saving time and saving people from dangerous work environments. Think about the evolution of homes from today's, where there are maybe some connected light bulbs and a connected music system, to homes that are an integral part of life automation. When you have a home that knows you as well as you know it, you will increasingly be able to forget about things like housekeeping, maintenance, information management, and so on. Those things will just seamlessly happen. A second example of what 5G can bring, that of productivity. Think of the energy and utility sector, where simple actions in the future will hide complex calculations and responses. You turn up the thermostat in your home, yes, your heat goes on, but much more happens. A signal is sent to your utility provider, where immediate checks are made to see if an unexpected spike in demand could come. Real-time historical data are both part of that assessment. Wind, tidal, meteorological, and other information is compiled to determine the optimal source of the most sustainable energy to meet that increased demand. Adjustments are shared with other utilities to optimize distribution across the global energy grid. Automated farm systems are notified so they can maximize the efficiency of food production in the context of changing temperatures. Retail stores have manufacturing and logistics immediately spring into action to ensure adequate availability of cold weather clothing. Travelers to the area, they receive updates reminding them to bring a sweater. The third and final example of what 5G can bring is better health, and at lower costs. Consider how skin-embedded and 5G-connected healthcare chips, half the diameter of a human hair, could continuously monitor vital signs, preventing conditions from becoming acute and helping doctors constantly adapt medication to meet changing conditions. Or hospitals could arrange remote robotic surgeries as if the surgeon were right there next to the patient, using virtual reality via a customized 5G network. Or autonomous vehicles and drones could be used in the distribution of medical aid during large-scale emergencies or in the collection of patient samples for testing. Or personalized insights from sensors monitoring patients could be sent to a 3D printer to produce customized drugs or prosthetic devices. Incredible. In terms of healthcare, 5G would mean improving quality of life, caring for patients more humanely and more quickly, increasing life expectancy and ultimately saving lives. Now, some of you may ask if these things are possible with 4G. And the short answer is that some of them are, in part. But some, in part, don't get us to where we need to be. To achieve the radical benefits that we see possible in the future, we need the connectivity, the capacity, and latency that will only be possible with 5G. So let me go into some more detail on all three to make my point. First, connectivity. In 2010, when the first commercial 4G rollout occurred, there were about 5 billion connected people. By 2020, Nokia Bell Labs expect that between 50 to 100 billion people, devices, and sensors, or even more, could be connected. And that is massive. So let's think about that visually. In fact, let's pretend that today's connections are about the size of the population of Las Vegas in 1950, a little under 50,000 people. That's pretty respectable. Then multiply that by 10. That's more like it. By 2010, the population of Las Vegas has increased tenfold, and the infrastructure to cope with that increase was developed in tandem. In the mobile world, we're set to achieve a similar tenfold increase in 1/12 of that time. This massive increase in connectivity is not something that 4G will be able to manage. Thus, 5G is a must. The capacity story, that's even more dramatic. Last year, the traffic in core networks was about 1 zettabyte per year. By 2020, we expect that traffic to be in the range of 4.3 zettabytes per year. And for those of you who mix up their zettabytes, petabytes, and yottabytes, 1 zettabyte is a modest trillion gigabytes, roughly equivalent to about 250 billion DVDs. Again, let's look at this visually in terms of the data stored in DVDs as a comparison. On the left, we have the traffic in the form of DVDs 10 years ago, about 7.2 billion DVDs. On the right, we expect to move to 1,075 billion DVDs worth of data in 2020. As an example, closer to home, the total traffic demand in the US was around 90 to 100 gigabytes per user per month in 2016. And I mean total across all kinds of networks. But Nokia Bell Labs have projected that by 2025, that consumption is to grow to 388 gigabytes per user per month. So about 4 times. And if augmented reality, virtual reality, and 360-degree video reach a 20% penetration by 2025, then that data consumption rate could reach 5,903 gigabytes per user per month, which is about 64 times the consumption in 2016. Again, 4G and other systems can do a lot. But for this kind of capacity, you need 5G. Then latency. And this is really critical. Networks must be able to respond incredibly fast as autonomous cars pilot down streets, as doctors examine patients remotely, and as manufacturing systems adapt to real-time changes in demand. And latency is where 4G systems are really not up to the task, with most networks today experiencing latency of between 20 and 100 milliseconds. So to make it real, let me show you a video.
So in this demonstration here today, we have this camera, which is recording the position of this ball on this plate. And then this position is recorded by a mobile edge cloud computing environment that then is intelligently controlling these robots, sending them the commands across the network to balance this ball on the plate. In this first demonstration, you can see on the screen here behind me, we're showing the current latency of what would be a 4G network. It's around 90 to 100 milliseconds. And on the right-hand side, you'll be able to see this line move as we move the ball on the plate. So what I'm going to do is move this ball right now, and we can see the oscillations here tracked on this graph and how long it takes for the robots to collaborate with each other to get the information they need to balance the ball on the plate. And then we're going to switch into 5G mode. And we can see on this graph here that we've now gone from around 90 milliseconds to around 3 milliseconds, so much, much lower latency in the network. And I'm going to do exactly the same again. And we can see that we only took one oscillation there to correct the ball. So you can see how the reduction of the latency in the network improves the communication between the machines, which is critical for future networks.
This is amazing responsiveness, and not just amazing, but absolutely necessary. Despite the fact that 5G will be essential to enabling our connected future, it will not happen overnight. It will be an evolution, and there will be a coexistence of 4G and 5G. Over time, the two are likely to become so closely intertwined that no one, except for the deep techies, will see the difference. Some countries will move faster than others. Certainly, progress will be fast here in the US, but also in Japan, Korea, and possibly China. But the most important thing to recognize about making 5G a commercial reality is that it is not really about 5G at all. Yes, the power of 5G is what we want at the end, but the journey there is largely about the evolutionary path of 4G. In fact, we see a path that will go from 4G to 4.5G Pro to 4.9G, and only then to 5G. Some countries and some operators may skip a step or compress the overall timeline, but we think most will follow this route rather than make a direct jump from early 4G systems to 5G. Let me explain a bit more. There's a lot of talk about 4.5G without saying what it really is. Frankly, it could be nothing more than marketing hype in many cases. Last week, we announced 4.5G Pro, and we are clear about what it is. 5-carrier aggregation, mobile broadband speeds of up to 1 gigabits per second, latency down to 10 milliseconds, better LTE capabilities for narrowband IoT connectivity through enhanced machine-type communications. We will have this ready for purchase in Q4 this year, and those customers who make the leap to 4.5G Pro will have a much easier path to 5G than those who do not. After all, remember that early 4G hardware does not support the carrier aggregation needed for future evolutions. And operators who move fast will have the chance to use 4.5G Pro as a test bed for the use cases of 5G, allowing them to experiment, iterate, and gain first-mover advantage. Then, from 4.5G Pro to 4.9G. We know from experience that new network rollouts will be in metropolitan areas first before moving outwards. 4.9G is a necessary step to provide a network environment for 5G continuity for users living in areas beyond the initial 5G coverage. The capacity and user experience will therefore be a significant improvement on 4.5G. Speeds start to rocket well above 1 gigabits per second, created through 6-channel or more carrier aggregation, including both licensed and unlicensed bands. Latency gets down to less than 10 milliseconds. And then, of course, 5G, which I already talked about. And to be clear, no one should assume that because I believe we still need to go through the evolutions of 4G, that Nokia is not committed to the fast development of 5G. We have said that we will be a leader in 5G, and we fully intend to make that a reality. For example, we are currently testing millimeter wave technology with AT&T. We showcased 1.2 gigabit per second speeds using carrier aggregation on our A-Scale platform with Deutsche Telekom Group in Poland. And we were the first to take 5G testing from the lab to the field with Verizon. At the 5G World Summit in London in June, we launched the world's first 5G-ready end-to-end network. And in the US, we demonstrated the first live 5G systems at a large-scale public event with Sprint at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. So when the time is right, we will be there, and we will be ready. Now, I know sometimes these waves of technology can sound abstract. And of course, what matters most is how they impact people. Let me try to take it to something more real with a specific example, that of an overworked doctor in Taiwan. Meet Dr. Shu, a real person doing admirable hard work. He travels from village to village, seeing more than 1,000 patients a month with paper patient records in his car. And he does not get home till 10 at night. The travel reduces the time he could be spending with patients, and therefore, both doctor and patients suffer. Today, using 4G-based technology, Nokia is working with Dr. Shu to find a better way, to help him reconnect with his patients, and to help him help more people. This can be done through remote access of healthcare records. This can be done through communication links with experts in central locations, allowing better analysis and advice through shared examination of medical-grade images on Dr. Shu's iPad, all designed to cut down travel time and increase patient time. And to make it even more real, in early May, a young man in one of the remote villages that Dr. Shu visits was bitten by a deadly snake. The first response considered was a 60-mile ambulance journey to the nearest county hospital. But then it was determined that it was too risky to move the patient. Medical professionals were able to engage and observe remotely until the patient was sufficiently stable to be transported. It worked well, and it probably saved a young man's life. But with 4.5G Pro, new possibilities start to open up. Large medical images would be transmitted 10 times faster than today's 4G networks. Faster downloads mean faster responses from the doctors cooperating with the village health center network. Sensors would dynamically test toxin levels in the patient's blood so a doctor could advise remotely, and the overstretched local healthcare assistant could manage more patients more efficiently. With a faster network and better sensors, the doctor has more control, the assistant has more time, and the patient has more choice. With 4.9G, the patient can be operated on at the village health center by a local doctor under the real-time supervision and direction of a city hospital doctor. It's not the best, but much better, and it's a significant step toward equal healthcare access to all. Then finally, with 5G, if the level of toxins become unmanageable, the patient should not risk a 60-mile ambulance journey to the county hospital. 5G offers the possibility of remote robot operations through haptic feedback, providing real-time responses to a level of 1 millisecond latency, allowing the specialist doctor in the city hospitals to perform surgery remotely. This Taiwan case is specific, but the underlying technology and the possibilities are universal. And the ramifications for the medical industry are enormous. Now, I've talked a lot about healthcare, but the opportunity is everywhere. The further we push the evolution of the network, the more possibilities arise. New business models, new means of helping people, and more ways to improve lives in all parts of the world. And that is what really matters. Not technology for the sake of technology, but technology in the service of people everywhere. Ultimately, 5G is just an enabler. An important enabler? Yeah, absolutely. An essential enabler? I would argue yes as well. It gives back more time to people, enabling them to be more productive and live more fulfilling lives. Because to me, that is the real promise of 5G. Delivering on that promise means moving from a world where the network is an important add-on to many of the world's activities to a world where the network underlies and enables all of those activities in new and amazing ways, where the network provides a seamless, programmable canvas that is nothing less than the fabric of our connected lives. A rich canvas on which people can paint new businesses, new services, new ideas that serve human well-being. It can help people live in a world where the world is safer, more sustainable, more efficient, more human, and with more human possibilities. And that is why we need to make 5G a commercial reality. Thank you very much.